Namaste. Namaste. Okay, what do we do? We owe a lot to India, the motherland. Okay. So for those who sometimes are feeling sleepy, meditation is a possibility. You have to be, I think your intentions have to be quite strong. You can't kind of say, oh, maybe I'm sleepy, I don't know. Yeah. Do I really need to keep my eyes open? Because it's kind of painful keeping your eyes open, isn't it? It's an unpleasant experience. So the determination has to be one of wanting to investigate the hindrance, whatever hindrance it is, the hindrance in this case of dullness, and we really want to be curious about it rather than either feeling defeated about it or angry or something like that. So what's this all about? What is it about the body mind that gets so sleepy? And so that's the way I've done it. And it was a longish experiment until I somehow sussed it. And again, for me, the essence is to see the arising of something, and if you can see the arising, then you're not caught by it. Even though it might echo in there, you're not caught by it. You've got enough presence. So, and then the way I was talking about the out breath in this morning interview, what I'm trying to do in terms of attention on objects is still emphasize the background. So I'm saying, like, the out breath is in awareness. So it's not like a hard focus on the out breath, making sure I don't think for any time during the whole out. It's not that held thing. Certainly that's how I started. So whether it was walking or sitting, I would just try to make sure that I was so aware of the object that nothing could come in, and then I'd feel annoyed if there was some sound. So there wasn't a real openness in that. And as I say, like if I'm doing woodwork and I'm working with the table saw, I need that. I need to be really focused, or that went through the saw, so not a good idea. So that there is a place for that, but I guess because I'm more curious of that language that I use about the unconditioned, the background, foreground metaphor works well for me, but the background can be the place where it's happening, as it were, and the foreground can be used to help stabilize the kind of jumpiness of the attention going into the foreground all the time. I guess that's how I explain it. And that's the way I was trying to indicate that with the breath. So and I think the watchword is there, like spacious, open, loving, if you will. Well, if that word doesn't work, but it's an open conscious space which is allowing things to take place, and rather than a forceful attention which is trying to achieve something or get rid of something. So, like long breath in, long breath out. Like I don't know how to teach Ujjayi pranayama, but it's just kind of. And you make a kind of snoring. Ask a yoga teacher. But Ujjayi pranayama is very good for that. But then in terms of like calming the whole system, what I'm trying to indicate is like you get a space for open, like get a sense of just to be here now, open. And it doesn't really matter what's going on. Unless it's something terribly painful, right? But in ordinary, so that whatever that noise that we have there, You can't even do enough to call it noise, sound, right? It came and went, and I knew it. And I know the body, that kind of open attention. And then that is difficult because thoughts, usually thoughts, ideas, somehow narrow attention down into that thought process where the space is no longer known. So if I emphasize that openness, and I just, just like very natural, like I say, look at the fan, and there's stillness. If I can hear a sound, I can have a pain. And then take that openness, and then localize attention on, like the body, say. So I say, and this is different than I know most of us have done the techniques that Mr. Goenka introduced, which are fine, but I'm doing something different. I'm not asking you, like if in that bodily kind of meditation, I'm not asking a point-by-point movement. It's more like within the space, there is the changing feeling of breath. And because when I did two retreats with John Coleman in that kind of Goenka tradition, and it certainly produced tranquility, but it was so constructed I lost interest in it. We were doing these retreats when we first came to England because we were trying to just figure out what do people do in the West, and okay, we'll try this thing. And because we didn't have a concept of vipassana or samatha, we didn't have a concept of meditation retreat even. We just always meditated because we're monks, right? So it was quite. And Mr. Coleman invited us, and we did a couple of retreats back to back in Oakenholt in Oxford. So, without denying the validity or usefulness of that. The other way is what I'm trying to suggest is there is this movement, and you localize attention. So like on the face, your head, you kind of just this open awareness, and you localize attention. So what's going on there? And that's happening in awareness. See the language I use, rather than I'm aware of. I'm putting my attention, like you were saying, Richard. Right? I'm putting my attention on that. It's more like openness, localized, and then and it comes alive. I mean, it's quite magical that the body comes alive in consciousness, for me anyway. So then with the breath, so the breathing's going on, and okay, what happens at the end of the out-breath? So there's observation. That's what we call Dhammavijaya. There's an observing going on of a flow, of a process, and then if you observe that, you'll see that a lot of thinking starts at somewhere in the out breath. And as you kind of touch into that, okay, so just like be with the out breath in this open way, and then you see maybe like the in breath is like it's you're pulling the breath in some kind of way which isn't relaxed. And then, okay, that's how that... So you kind of understand how the breath works, but you're coming from a very open space. A space of understanding, rather than trying to hold on to something, which doesn't mean that technique of, what do they call it, scanning or something? Body scanning or something? Anyway, it doesn't mean that can't be effective either, but I'm just talking about a different way of doing it. Then if you're sustaining that kind of openness, and you like if you are understanding what I mean by full body awareness, in the same way the body becomes alive in awareness. You see that the body is not a thing, that it's warmth and pressure and vibration. It's very alive. The body's alive in a experiential way, not just in a conceptual way. and you just allow the body to be alive, then the body is in awareness, it's moving in awareness. And then if in that way of understanding this present moment, desire arises, like resistance to something, or trying to attain to something, that you really see the pressure in the face or wherever. Oh yeah, it feels like that. So you kind of, obviously this takes a sustained awareness, but the awareness has a kind of purity to it. It's accepting all things. And then whatever adjustments you make, they tend to be from wisdom rather than from trying to get rid of or desire. Like, I know for myself, like the who am I practices that you find in China, the Huato, or in Sri Ramana in the Advaita traditions. I thought I'd had to find something really stupid. Who am I? Like, it's totally not what the thing is. That's not what you're doing. You're just awakening, who am I? And there's the silent knowing. But I got kind of deluded into thinking, well, Sri Ramana's got something. And Master Shunwa has something. So I've got to get something. And then I'm going to do who am I? Who am I? Where is it? But it was, I mean, it's kind of silly when I think about it, but it was real. It was like a young monk trying to attain to something which he'd read about, but I didn't see that the problem was the desire. So you always come back to the Four Noble Truths, this wanting and wanting to get rid of. And then acceptance of, like we were talking about, tragedy, that if you have tragedy in your family, and that is horrible, really, really horrible. And to accept that into the heart, and when you can't fix it, that's really difficult. But what else can you do? So the more one understands that the space of awareness, the loving space of awareness, the accepting space of awareness, accepts all things and rejects none. As you keep, I think, reinforming your own worldview with that attitude and that possibility, then you do have a kind of framework or a grounding to even accept those things. Because life has tragedy, it's just the way it is. So I was also mentioning in that vein that I don't have a tragic life at all. I have a pretty cool life. But I do meet people who have tragedies, and I'm going to be on the gurney soon, so something's going to be happening. But I do use imagery to try to bring forth, I try to contemplate human suffering in a way which is not, like I was saying, I have a couple of photos on my computer desktop, that are very tragic. One is of a woman who has lost her whole family, and she's holding herself like this. And in that Turkish flood that happened where a city was wiped out, everything is lost. And I just look at that. But then I just try to look at it and say, oh yeah, with birth there's this. Life has this. And just try to feel what that does here. Because it's very human then. It's not like a statistic. 3,000 people died in an hour or something like that. I really see that. And then there's that one where on the Mediterranean, where the aid worker is carrying the little body of the little boy. Oh, that is so painful. So I have that on my desktop, not as my page saver, but I have it available. And then I bring that up, and then I just look at that. And then I allow that, yeah, human birth has this. It is a part of human birth. And that really affects me strongly. So that opens the heart. And then I was telling the others in this, then I have another picture. Then I use pictures a lot, as you can see. So I have a picture of Ramakrishna, say, or of one of our meditation groups from way back in Pakenham or something, our group, and then others, and then I look at those, and I see that that's also part of the human condition. Kalyanamitta, good people, and then I have kind of a really beautiful one that I found somewhere, and it's a picture of three people, and one is a young man who is a dancer, maybe 6 foot tall, and he's looking at his teacher, the dancer's maybe like 20 years old or something, and his teacher looks like 90 years old. And she's a little lady, but full of spark, and she's looking up at him, really looking up. She's like that, and this beautiful radiant smile, and he's smiling down at her. Obviously she's very pleased with his. And then there's a third dancer, a woman behind them, looking at both of them and very happy. And oh, I like that. So why don't I always look at pictures like that? Because the human heart has this range of compassion and joy. And I don't know, I find that so much better than trying to do a metta meditation, like conceptually. I just find that, I guess it's my character, very powerful. And then I'll do that for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll go back to my emails. I do that all the time. And then I'll meditate. But then the upekkha part, the calmness part, for me, the end of the out-breath is kind of really useful way of doing that. But it's coming from that open interest in the background, and then a kind of calming of the foreground with the out-breath. So I think it's important for me to kind of stimulate the 4 Brahmaviharas in different ways. Brahmaviharas are, as you know, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And joy is in nature, isn't it? You're out there with those pine trees, and if you're forest bathing and you're down here, that is so healing, that is so good. If you're up here, well, you'll miss it. You'll miss the trees. So like here, we have use the space, look out across the river, and then just get a sense of space, openness. And these, for me, these have deep reaching effect on my own psyche, because they're kind of deeper than intellect. They're not just ideas. So let's just sit. I won't give a guided meditation, but keep in mind that how to use the end of the out breath, and also working with the dullness or the restlessness. Okay? So let's meditate a bit.